Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever in the world you are connecting from today. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Well, it is morning for me, but thank you so much for joining in this new version of or new edition of my AI Power Hour, where I share insights and ideas with you about how to properly use AI, some of the things that I have learned over the previous weeks before launching this AI Power Hour. And I'm excited to chat with you today and share some ideas and insights about how to use AI if you are a direct manager. But if you are not a direct manager, this conversation will still be relevant to you because I'm going to be sharing some ideas that are practical and relevant for all of us that are using AI. Um, I read this piece of research saying that some people in the workplace, I think it was like the research said that it was like 41% of the people that are actively sabotaging AI um, implementation and adoption and integration in the workplace. And that term sounds like, if you are like I don't know, like a terrorist, doing something terrible in the workplace, it may be a very broad term that maybe encompassing people that are trying to learn how to use AI and they don't know well how to do it yet. And because they don't know how to do it yet, they may be getting frustrated. And I don't know. It's an interesting piece of research that came out a few weeks ago, and the truth is that even if there are employees sabotaging AI, there is power in the use of AI. It's just inevitable and unstoppable that most organizations will be impacted and adopting AI to be able to remain competitive, right? So the best case for us, the best case scenario for us is that we learn how to do it properly. To me, though, the statistic that is not real as a statistic, but it's more about the way I think about this in the workplace is that based on what I have seen and the conversations that I've had with multiple HR leaders about AI, it's pretty clear to me that everybody who uses a computer for their work is using AI in one way or another, whether they are actively sabotaging AI, but still using AI to sabotage AI, which is kind of weird, but I'm sure some people have found a way to do that. And others are being shamed about their use of AI, or they are fearful about the future of their job and secretly using AI. To me, it's pretty clear that most people right now, most employees who are performing their work in a computer or with a computer, I'm going to imagine that most of them are using AI in one way or another, whether it is to write an entire dissertation for their PhD, which has happened, by the way, whether it is a lawyer arguing a case in front of a judge using fake data that AI hallucinated and created for them, and they didn't oversighted that data, and they didn't embed any human in the loop, and they just submitted that information to a judge as if it was real, and the judge found out that it was not real, and now that company has to pay a price for it, which is a real case, by the way. Or whether you're just asking the simple questions like me the other day asking, like, what is the short-term memory of a cat? And, it was just simple to ask ChatGPT. It doesn't matter, like in what end of that spectrum of the use of AI you are or anybody is. I'm going to imagine that for one way or one reason or another, most people are now using AI in some kind of capacity, right? So that is just unstoppable. And I think the best bet for us going forward is how to do this properly. And that's what I am going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to be sharing some ideas on how to use AI properly, particularly if you are if you are a direct manager, you're using AI to make decisions on hiring, firing, compensation, performance, feedback, goal setting, whatever it is that you're designing. or that you're doing as an as a direct manager, not an AI manager, as a direct manager, whatever it is that you're doing. This conversation today will be, I'm hoping, helpful and valuable and relevant. So I have my comments open here. Please let me know where you're connecting from. It will be great to know where everybody's tuning in from. And I'm going to be sharing my screen because I'm going to do this instead of doing a presentation as in covering some slides. I'm going to be doing this actually real time together with you. So we're going to be building something together in here. Okay, so let me share my screen and you will see what I'm talking about when I talk about, the work that we're going to be doing today. Okay. So you're seeing my screen. I have Notebook LM open right now, but I also have ChatGPT, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, and I have a Google document open, which you will see what I am going to be doing with that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, because I am a team manager, I have team members in my team in Hacking HR, but I want to do this a little bit more general and to all of you. So I'm going to be doing the following. I'm going to be creating a synthetic organization. What that is pretty much an organization that doesn't really exist, but I am going to be playing with it. So I'm going to be creating a medium-sized organization of about 1,000 employees. We can decide whatever industry they work on, and whether they are a global company or a regional company or a country-based company. So I'm going to be creating a synthetic organization. In that synthetic organization, I'm going to be creating multiple departments. In one department, I'm going to play the role of a direct manager, assigning goals to my teams and all of that. And then I'm going to do what a direct manager should be doing, which is assigning goals and providing feedback and whatnot. So we're going to be doing like an end-to-end AI use for this case. But most of what I am going to be doing right now at the very beginning of this exercise is something that you are already doing in your organization. So I'm just creating this synthetic organization to be able to work it out in this AI Power Hour a little faster than I would be able to do it if I was doing it manually. So I'm gonna go to Claude. I have a pro account, a max account in Claude because I am a heavy AI user. I have a plus account in ChatGPT because or a pro account actually in ChatGPT because I am a heavy AI user. You don't have to you can use the free accounts, and that would give you enough room to do a number of things. But ultimately, because in my team, me and my team, we use AI significantly for everything that I do, I have this pro account. So I'm going to go to Claude and I'm going to do this following. I'm doing this real time with you, by the way. And this is the way I generally like to do demos of what is possible and training on AI. I like to do it real time. I know what I'm going to do, but I like to do this real time for a number of reasons. But the most important of all the reasons is this, that when I am working with AI and when I have done this real time live with an audience, very often it's happened that I am getting a response from AI that I did not expect. So sometimes I am surprised, sometimes I am shocked. And I like that reaction, whether it is being surprised or being shocked, to happen in front of other people. Because then I am, me being an expert in AI, or having expertise, not being an expert, having expertise on AI, and being surprised or shocked in front of other people also gives everybody permission to also be surprised and shocked when they get a response from AI that they did not expect. That is one of the reasons, and the most important reason of why I like to do this live. So what we're going to be doing is creating a synthetic organization, designing the entire organization. We're not going to be vetting whether it is truly real, as in like that's the way an organization would be in real life. We're going to assume that it is about the way it would be in real life. And then we're going to be creating teams, and we're going to be creating goals for those team members. And we're going to be writing feedback as if it was them. And then I'm going to be writing feedback as if I am their manager. Okay. So all of this will happen real time with you. All right, let's get started here. So I'm going to be creating a synthetic organization. I'm going to go to Claude and I'm going to say, I am doing a live exercise with AI in front of a live audience. The exercise is about the following, and I'm going to say what it is. It's about the following: teaching direct managers how to properly use AI for all the things that a direct manager should do, including feedback providing, goal setting, hiring, firing, compensation, performance, and all other decisions. I need your help. The best thing that you always can do, by the way, is the best use case for AI will always come when you provide enough context for AI to give you an output or an answer, right? The less context you provide, the poorer the answer you will get from AI, and that is not useful for anybody. So I'm gonna be providing as much context as I can here. I need your help to do the following. So I'm going to say, number one, we will create a synthetic organization, demo organization, to test ideas and experiment with the ways a manager should use AI. These are the features of this synthetic organization. And I'm going to say it is a medium size company of, I'm going to say, 1,000 employees operating solely in the US. Just using that as an example. You can use whatever you want. Operating solely in the US. It is a company in the, I don't know, I'm going to say in the construction sector. I'm just making it up. In the construction industry. Almost all employees work, I'm providing context, I'm just making it up as we go. Almost all employees work from either the office or on site. All right, and we can say, we can say whatever, right? So I need your help to design this organization, including the name of the organization, the organizational structure. I'm going to say departments, teams, etc. After steps 1 and 2, we will proceed with the rest of the exercise. For now, what I want you to do is to create this synthetic organization following steps 1 and 2. Please make sure that you're not just making up an organization. Use benchmarks from the construction industry to design a synthetic organization that is as close as possible to a real life one. All right, we're designing the synthetic organization. That's all we're doing right now. We're just providing a little bit of context. That's why I had the Google document open here, because Claude will be creating this synthetic organization. I'm going to be copying all that information. Obviously, in your real workplace, you don't need to do this because you already have that information. But because I don't know your workplace and I can't spend time designing an organization together with you at a human-to-human level, I'm going to use AI to do that, right? So let's wait to see what it does. Here it is, company Cornerstone Builders Group, headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona, down the road from where I live. Founded in 1987. You got a bunch of information in there. Executive leadership, 12 employees. If anybody here is tuning in and you work right now or you have worked in the construction sector, you may say something like, that is absolutely ridiculous. An organization like that doesn't exist in the industry. Or something along the lines of like, oh, you know what? This is kind of like very close to what most companies in the industry would look like. All right, so we have the name of the organization, we have the annual revenue, we have the organizational structure, we have a little bit of the team, and finance, business development and marketing, all the teams. So I'm going to be copying all of this. Let me see if it's not done yet. It's still, working on this thing. Okay, there we go. It already finished creating the synthetic organization. Again, because if I was doing this with you, with your workplace, that's what we would plug in here. But we can't do that now because of the sake of time. So I just created a synthetic organization using AI. I'm going to copy this in my Google document to have that as a reference. Oops. I'm going to copy that in my Google document. There we go. And I'm going to pick one of the departments. I don't know, like I'm not going to pick HR because, well, I know kind of a little bit about HR given that I am the founder of Hacking HR. So let me pick another unit in the business. So let me pick, let's do equipment and fleet, of which I know absolutely nothing about. I don't know anything about. So, but I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to help me design the goals for this organization for 2026. So I already designed, not me, AI. We together designed the organizational structure. So now let's set up the goals for the entire organization for next year and how those goals cascade down to each department. So I'm going to ask that question from AI. Now, let's create the goals for the organization. And I'm going to say, please create the goals for the goals for the entire organization. And I'm going to say here, revenue, operational, culture, etc. goals, and cascade them down to each department. For now, only goals at the level of the I'm going to say the following: at the levels of the organization. I'm going to imagine that there may be VPs here, the level of the high-level VPs, so vice presidencies or larger business units, the level of each department. Don't do the level of teams yet, okay? And I have to be very precise about the context that I'm providing. Please make sure that you do it as follows. Organizational goals, and I'm going to say here, goal type, indicator or KPI. And I'm going to say VPs, goals, and I'm going to say here, goal type and indicator. And obviously, this should be cascading down. You probably all know this. And department goals. And I'm going to say the same thing. So an enter in there. So what I'm doing right now is I am creating a synthetic organization, the organizational structure. Now I'm doing the goals. I want to cascade down those goals to each team. And then I'm going to be assuming the role of an AI, of a direct manager. I don't know why I keep saying AI manager. Of a direct manager that now will use AI to look at the composition of the team, to look at the skills that the team has, to cascade down those goals. And then we're going to create a synthetic performance review cycle with whatever that cycle looks like for your organization. I'm hoping that it's not an annual cycle. I mean, that doesn't make sense, and it's never made sense. I'm hoping that it's a faster, a cadence kind of cycle that you have in your organization. All right, so here we have, again, if you work in the construction sector and you're looking at this, you may say something like, this is ridiculous, or this looks like about pretty accurate, based on the size of the organization, that is a country-based organization, and the sector in which it works, right? So here we have all the goals, level VP goals, CEO, president, CFO, chief people officer. We got all the goals in there. Department goals, and that's my equipment and fleet team in there. Equipment utilization rates more than 75%. I have no clue what that means because I don't work in that sector and I know nothing about that sector, which is the very reason why I chose it, because I want to learn a little bit about what happens in this sector from AI. Equipment downtime, less than 8%. Does anybody here work in construction, by the way? Is this like an acceptable thing? If anybody here works in construction, do you have a goal or an indicator that is equipment downtime less than 8%? I would love to know if that's like an accurate thing. Maintenance cost per unit, less than $12,000 on average per year. Fleet compliance, Department of Transportation inspections, 100%. Fuel cost management, less than 5% increase year over year. Obviously, that's like if inflation didn't exist. All right, we got all the stuff in there. I'm going to copy all of this. I don't have to, but I could just copy the goals that I'm interested in. And I'm copying all of this as if it was real. And it is not, but this is real for your organization. I'm copying all of this as if it was real. And I'm going to paste it all down here, the goals for next year. And I'm going to pick. Okay, one day it's going to paste in there. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to pick our team here. Oops. I'm going to pick, we said that we were going to be working on the fleet. Where is that team? I'm looking it up. Sorry about this. Equipment and fleet. So I'm going to say to AI, we will use equipment and fleet department as our experimental department. Please design the structure of this department, meaning the titles, teams in the department, and what everybody does. I don't know what everybody does for each role, not for each person. Design a 1-paragraph job description. Okay, I'm designing my synthetic organization. Then I'm going to move on to becoming that direct manager of this team or this department to do the work that we need to do in this conversation. Oops, sorry. Any questions so far? Like from everybody, we're just creating a little synthetic organization in here. If you're using Claude or ChatGPT, and you are, well, first of all, please know that you should not be sharing proprietary data from your company, confidential data, people data, in any open AI system that is not that you're not using a vendor for with a significant and very thick layer of security. So if you're using AI, as in using open systems like Claude or ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, the user-facing chats like what I am doing right now, do not share proprietary data in there. The second thing is that when you are, whatever interactions you're having with these systems, by default, these systems have the option to use the content that you're creating together with AI, and any inputs that you're providing to AI, that content is being used to improve the large language model for everybody else. So what I suggest you to do, and I know it's a little selfish, but I suggest you to do that, is you turn that off if you need to use that system, these systems for for more specific, confidential kind of inputs. All right. That is part, by the way, of what you have to learn as a direct manager. That if you're sharing data from your team, that you do not use that data to feed the learning of the large language model. All right, perfect. So here we are. We have our equipment and fleet department designed. There are 40 employees in that department. There's a director of equipment and fleet in the department. There is an equipment operations manager, shop supervisor, all these people. Here we have, maintenance and repair headcount 20. I don't even know if that's real. Again, this, I'm choosing an area of which I know nothing. Department headcount by role. Okay, here we are. We just designed our synthetic organization. We designed our synthetic goals, and now we designed the one department that we want to work on. All right, so I'm gonna move all of this to my Google document as if it was real, but it is not, right? And you already know that. But what is real is that your organization probably has all of this information already in advance. So let's assume the role, this is my department structure. let's assume the role. Let's see. Let's assume the role of a shop supervisor. This person has, the shop supervisor has 20 employees under his direct command, right? So I'm going to assume the role of the shop supervisor. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, let's assume that we are the shop supervisor. So I'm going to say now, cascade down the goals of the organization and the VP and this specific department to each team member in the, what was the name of the of this shop? It was maintenance and repair. Okay. Perfect. Let me see if this person is the one with 8. So 14. 14 and yeah, okay, that's the person. All right, perfect. So it's one over here. Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna say maintenance and repair. So I'm gonna say cascade down. Now cascade down the goals of the organization and the VP and this specific department to each team member in the maintenance and repair team. All right. So I'm going to assume that what I'm going to be getting right now, and I'm going to be surprised or shocked as you will be with the results of this exercise right now, that we're taking the goals of the organization, that we're cascaded down to the VP, that we're cascaded down to the equipment and fleet team, and that we're now cascading down to the specific maintenance and repair team. All right, well, this is what I just said. So the cascade logic is organization, VP of operations, equipment and fleet, the shop supervisor. Okay, and here is the relevant goals flowing into this team for each person, right? All right, so we just designed, so here it is. I mean, it's creating a bunch of stuff in there, which obviously, if you were using your own data from your own company, it would do it in a much more accurate way. This is all made up, and I am hoping that it's made up following some benchmarking information based on the construction industry, a small or medium-sized kind of company, but I don't care about that one specific thing right now because that's not the scope of the exercise. The scope of the exercise is different. I'm using the synthetic organization to test what I'm about to say. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna copy all of this. All right, I'm doing it as if it was real. Okay, we got a bunch of stuff in there. I mean, if you were using your real organization and you use this, you can do some things in addition to what I am doing as a direct manager. You can, for example, provide past performance reviews. You can provide, the learning programs that these people have gone through. You can provide, if you're doing, say, a skills assessment on each of your employees in this team, and you know what their skills are, that's going to help you provide additional context to what AI can do to cascade down those goals. One of the problems that we have right now is that the way we cascade down goals is based generally on the role that the person has. And yes, sometimes you account for the actual person doing that role, but you cascade down some goals to a specific role because you would assume that that role is the one that should be taking over the implementation of certain kinds of goals or the achievement of certain kind of goals and KPIs in that team. But if you have a better understanding of the skills of each person in your team, even if it sounds logic, quote unquote logic, that one KPI should be assigned to one specific role because that is what that role should be achieving for that specific KPI. If you knew what other role, the skills of the person in another role, and you knew that that specific KPI could be distributed among two different roles, even though logically it seems to be belonging to only one, AI could help you do that if you had all that information in advance. Obviously, we don't have that in this context, therefore we can't, be as specific as that, right? So I'm gonna be copying down my team information here for this specific team. So let me see. All right. Perfect. So, all right, see, here's my maintenance and repair team, individual cascade, goal cascade. Here's the logic. This is all from our synthetic organization. The relevant goals flowing into the team, etc. Shop supervisor goals, which is the team manager. Obviously, all the goals that cascade down to that team should cascade down directly to that manager who is responsible for the entire team. And then they go down to the specific roles within that team. So the lead mechanic of heavy equipment has goals like this, right? So I am going to take this specific role. So now you see how I'm going deeper and deeper into one specific team. So we went from the organization to the VPs, to the teams, to one specific team. Now I'm going to dig a little deeper into one specific role in the organization. The lead mechanic has 8 direct reports. So I'm going to take the lead mechanic role, and I'm going to come here, and I'm going to say, let's take this role, this leadership role, or managerial role, actually, managerial role. And I'm now going to start getting into the core of the conversation, right? Which is, all right, now let's see. I'm going to ask AI to create a table in which it says which were the KPIs and the goals for the year, and create another column in which it says which goals were actually achieved. So I'm going to say the following, right? So I'm going to say, create a table similar to the one that you created for the goals of this role, but add an additional column as if we were at the end of the year with the goals, the KPIs that were actually achieved. For some of the goals, I'm gonna say the following: make up the KPIs achieved, but do it like this. For some KPIs, make it as if they were achieved. Again, I'm doing all synthetic stuff. Other KPIs were surpassed, and other KPIs were not achieved. Do this only for the role I mentioned, which is this one. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm going to take this table, and now I'm going to say what was actually achieved by the end of the year. That is assuming that your annual review cycle or your review cycle is an annual cycle. Because I don't know anything about the construction sector, I am going to imagine that in this kind of sector, the performance cycles are probably much they happen on a much faster cadence than just happening at an annual basis. But I don't know. Let's assume for now that we did several touch points throughout the year, and that we got to the end of the year, and then we're going to be creating a specific table for this specific role of what this person achieved. So I'm going to open another part here. Let's see what our friend here, Claude, is doing. All right, there we go. So I'm going to copy the performance, the end of the year results. Okay. And I'm going to say the following. I'm going to copy it in there. So I'm going to go a little deeper into what some of the things that you should be doing as a direct manager. So again, all of this, I'm doing it in the context of a synthetic organization, right? Given that I don't have a real organization to work with. So I'm going to say the following. I'm going to say to Claude, what is the name of the role? Lead. I'm going to say this. The lead mechanic role, the person in the lead mechanic role has always had top performance since they joined the company 5 years ago. Every year, I'm going to say this, I'm making it up. Every year, this person has surpassed every KPI that they have been assigned to. Given this information, please, I'm going to do this synthetically again. Please create a one paragraph, I'm going to say 100-word performance overall description, performance overall assessment of this person by their manager for each past year. I'm going to say here 2020 to 2024. So what I am doing is creating the history of this person now, as if it had actually happened. So I'm creating the history of this person. Please make sure I'm going to say the following. You will be making this app, every performance, every overall performance review has to include the celebration of the achievement of the goals, the celebration of the achievement, achievement of the goals, and it has to include also, some information about opportunities for development and growth in the following year. So I'm building the history for this person. All right, perfect. So let's see what happens. So I created a synthetic organization. I cascaded all the way down to an individual person, in this case, and now I am creating synthetic performance review. Obviously these performance reviews will probably be much more complex than what I am doing here, but I am adding just the one paragraph for this person. The name is Carlos Mendez. The supervisor is Carlos Mendez, and the direct report is David. It's just funny that I didn't say the gender of this person. I mean, I'm assuming that because of the names, they have certain gender, but it's interesting that I didn't mention the actual gender, and the system is by default assuming that the names sound male. I always pick up on these little things, which you should too, by the way. If you are a direct manager, an interesting exercise is, to anonymize the name of the person to see and whether it is male or female, and to provide the feedback to provide the history to AI to see what it says about each person, and then to provide the name of that person to see if the assessment that AI does is different based on now knowing what the likely gender of that person would be. Anyway, this may not have anything to do with what I am doing right now today in this program, in this training here, but I'm always picking up on those things. If you were to ask AI, and we can ask, ChatGPT, I'm gonna ask actually ChatGPT. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT just out of curiosity, create a team picture of this team. And I'm gonna go to my I'm gonna go to the team design that we did before. This is just out of curiosity, a little sidetrack here on the team composition. I'm gonna say to create sorry. I'm gonna take this information. I'm gonna go to ChatGPT and I'm gonna say create a team picture of this team. Okay, let's see what it does gender-wise. All right, going back to what we're doing right now. David Chen, the historical performance reviews. I'm gonna copy all of this as if it was real. Okay, and now I'm gonna paste that in my document. Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way down to my document and I'm gonna assess David Chen. Okay, so Carlos is the supervisor, and David has always been a top performer, always achieving his goals, always exceeding the goals, and always opportunities. For example, in 2020, I encouraged David to begin developing his communications skills with field superintendents. In 2021, David should focus in 2022 on developing formal leadership skills, including delivering structured training sessions and providing direct feedback to peers. In 2023, David should focus on delegating more complex repairs to develop his team capabilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But after doing all of this, David in 2025 was not able to achieve his goals. So I'm going to ask, now having that information, what I'm going to ask is, I'm gonna open another system, because now we have a history here in Claude, and I don't want Claude to to be biased. about David based on the story that we just built. So I'm going to go to Claude AI, Microsoft tool, and I'm going to say the following: I am David's direct report. Direct supervisor. My name is Carlos. That's not my name. My name is Enrique, but my name is Carlos. Below, you will see all the feedback that I was provided to David over the past 5 years. David has always achieved his goals, but this year he didn't. Further down, you will see the goals of this year, 2025, and what was achieved and what wasn't. Please help me write David's performance review for this year. What I am doing is very limited in scope right now because I don't know David. I am not Carlos. I haven't talked to David, and I don't have additional information about David. So I am already creating a feedback based on very, very limited information. Eventually, you want to provide more and more information to the AI tool to help you write that AI generated feedback that you're generating for David. So I'm going to copy down here all the feedback that David has gotten over the past 5 years. I'm not sure. I'm going to copy all of this. I'm not sure if Copilot. Okay, well, it does it. It does it as text. In Claude, if the text is too long, when you copy it on Claude, it copies that as an attachment. This here, further down, I'm going to say, instead of further down, I'm going to say attach. You will see the goals of this year. So I'm going to go to David, to the goals that he didn't accomplish this year, which are these ones. Actually, I'm going to put it down. So I'm going to return here the change that I just made. I'm going to say here, further down in this chat, you will see the goals of this year and what was achieved and what wasn't. So I'm going to add. I generally add those lines in there, those little hyphens in there. AI doesn't need them, but I do, to differentiate in the chat, what it is that I am saying. AI doesn't need those, but we do. All right, so I'm going to click and enter in here and see what happens. Let me go back to the picture of the team. Look at this. These are all guys with beard and white guys, and there's just one woman over there. So you see that when I tell you that you have to be careful with AI, what it is that you're asking AI, and the assumptions that you have about AI, this is a phenomenal case. I mean, is it true that most employees in the construction company are male? I'm going to assume, I think the answer to that is yes, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the answer to that is yes. Is it true, perhaps, that most people working in an equipment and fleet department would be male? Most likely the answer to that would be yes, but I don't know. But that is a big assumption. That is a very big assumption, right? I'm going to actually go back to this document. This is a sidetrack. I'm going to take this executive leadership and I'm going to ask ChatGPT, now create the team picture of the executive leadership. And let's see what happens. Okay, let's see what happens with that. Does anybody have any questions, by the way? You're all too quiet over there. I don't see your comments coming through. You're all very, very quiet. So please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. I'm going to go back to my Copilot. And I'm going to say now here, so I'm going to take this assessment, this feedback, from David. David continued to demonstrate a strong technical, blah, 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 performance highlights, areas not achieved, overall assessment, development focus for 2026. Again, very limited in scope. But what I just did was I wanted to show you that you could use, I'm going to take this and I'm going to say now, I'm going to go all the way down to my documents and I'm going to say, what was the name of this part? fiscal year 2026, lead mechanic heavy equipment, feedback, performance feedback. All right. So now I'm gonna do another example. I wanna do all that I just did was providing an entire set of context about who David is and who what this organization looks like and what it is, right? I'm gonna go back to ChatGPT for another chat, and I'm going to say the following, which is what generally most managers are doing. I'm gonna say about the same. I'm going to come here to what I did in Copilot before, and I'm going to say this. I am David's direct supervisor. My name is Carlos. I need to provide feedback to him about his 2025 performance. Below, you will see the goals and KPIs that were assigned to him and what was actually achieved. So I am not providing anymore the context of all the feedback that I have provided to David in the past. I am going to go straight into this idea of just asking for feedback for David without providing any context. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to copy just his goals for this year and the achievement of those goals. So I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to come to ChatGPT. I'm going to click enter and let's see what happens with the feedback now. Team picture of the executive team. Look at this. This is the executive team. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but the truth is that there is a big assumption with AI systems about what an industry looks like and what an executive team looks like. And, I mean, except for 3 people in that picture, the rest look kind of about the same. The same thing with this, right? I mean, like, this is like a copy paste of all the people. I mean, they look like about the same. So all I'm saying is, yes, this was made up by AI, but in the same way that AI can make up the way a picture of an executive team looks like and the picture of an equipment and fleet team looks like, assuming that because most construction companies, their equipment and fleet teams look like this, that yours should look like that. That is a big assumption that you can imagine and extrapolate to other cases as in providing feedback. So if you are providing feedback to somebody in your team and that person is the lead heavy equipment supervisor and that person didn't achieve the goals, then AI may be making big assumptions when you're asking AI to provide feedback on that person, which is what I am about to show you. Okay, so there is a big assumption here about what this person should be doing. I'm not going to read it all. It may be 50% what the other feedback providing tool, what we did with Claude, but that 50, even if it's just 20%, even if it's 10% difference in accuracy between what Claude did and what ChatGPT did with and without context, that 10% can determine a number of things. It can determine, for example, whether you give this person a top performance or not. It can determine whether you invest in this person's learning and development the following year in areas that person actually needs learning and development or not. It can determine the difference about whether this person says, I am sick of Carlos, I am leaving this thing, I am going to the competition because they have been talking with me to move there because they can't find anybody to do the job that I do. So that 10% difference in accuracy between providing feedback using AI, having context, and providing feedback using AI, not having context, if that difference in accuracy is 10, 5%, 20% or more, that can determine a phenomenal difference in the decisions that you make as a direct manager for this person. So that's a primer on one area in AI that most of us most of you may want to use AI for, which is providing feedback to anybody in your team. The bottom line here is, without context, there is going to be a difference in the accuracy of the performance review or whatever decision you're making. Without context, there is going to be a difference in accuracy. And that difference in accuracy in whatever decision you're making about that, whether it is the feedback that you're providing, the compensation bonus that you're going to give that person, the assignment to a new potential phenomenal project that can help that person grow, whatever decision you're making based on that difference in accuracy will have implications down the road. And that is what you, as a direct manager, must be very, very aware of. So that is that for me, and those are some of the things that I wanted to share with you today. If you want to learn more, we're doing this very cool project we're doing our mini masters on AI between January and May of next year. Scan that QR code that you see on the screen. I'm going to be doing this program, developing a lot of different tools. And we also have our strategic AI leadership program that we do. But all of this is just to help you be a lot more, not productive. That is not the word, because again, if I come to ChatGPT, the without context ChatGPT that we created, we were very productive. I mean, if we're measuring productivity by how fast we can write a performance review, I mean, if we're writing a performance review that is bullshit, then I did it pretty quickly, and my productivity is very high. And so productivity doesn't always measure the effectiveness of whatever it is that I'm doing. So if I am doing something very fast, but the accuracy of what I am doing fast is very slow, very, very low, then it doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't have any impact other than negative impact. So we are doing a strategic AI leadership program next year where we teach people not just how to increase productivity, but how to do it in the proper way. So it is productivity, it is efficiency, it is effectiveness, it is performance, it is a number of components that we take into account when we measure the real impact of AI. So I just showed you one example, and I didn't read it all, but I showed you one example of Claude having history and ChatGPT not having history, creating a performance review. The difference, I didn't read it, but it may be 5-10% accuracy or more in the feedback that is being provided. That 10% can have serious implications for you, your company down the road. More importantly, or as important as that, it's not just the people implications that it has, like your lead mechanic, your lead heavy equipment supervisor saying, I've always done this, and the reason why I didn't achieve my goals this year is because we changed, leadership, and they changed stuff in the organization. If you don't have that context, and it seems as if that person didn't do their job, they may say, goodbye, I'm going to the competition. You have just lost one of your most brilliant, talented people in your organization because you're using AI to make decisions that have no context. This is critical. So it's not just about doing it fast, it's also about doing it right. So any other questions I'm seeing here? Any other questions from anybody? I think I'm hoping that this was helpful to everybody, that this was helpful to you, that you take this into account for whatever you're using AI for. And other than that, please continue joining us in our AI Power Hours. This is the last one of this year. We're going to be doing more next year, obviously. Join us in our events, in our training programs. And for now, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And I hope that you learned something new today. Thank you so much, everyone. I will leave you with a QR code for our mini master program in Practical AI. Hopefully, I'll see you there next year. Thank you so much, everyone. See you soon. Happy holidays, and have a good rest of your week.